Good evening, and welcome to the Overlook Drive-In. The Overlook Hotel was built over a century ago on an old Native American burial ground. Just recently, we added a beautiful state-of-the-art drive-in screen out back. You don't just get a peaceful, cozy stay at the Overlook, but you get to enjoy one of the finest outdoor cinemas as well. At the Overlook Drive-In, we don't just watch and review major motion picture films. Here, we rank them too. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. My name is Zach. We hope you enjoy your stay. Enjoy the show, and if you will, please follow Mr. Grady to room 237. He will take care of you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the Overlook Drive-In right here on the Fandom Empire YouTube channel. Strap yourselves in. We're talking about a couple of divisive movies tonight, not just one of them. Joining me, as always, he is the host of the Take One podcast and the co-host here at the Overlook Drive-In. It's the one, the only, Mr. Mike Bish. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Good to be here. Glad to be here. I'm excited to dive into this movie, man, because I think over time my opinion has changed on this movie. So I'm ready to dive in it and see kind of what you have to say about it. I have a feeling it's probably going to be our lowest, but then again, I mean, you shocked me on some things, and I might shock myself. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of shocking on this episode. For either one of us, if I'm being honest. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But thank you for joining us tonight. It is Tuesday night, October the 25th. Halloween is less than 1 week away, and we are doing Rob Zombie's Halloween on this episode of the Overlook Drive-In. Dude, you had us on the Take One, or had me on the Take One podcast last week with a bunch of just very gifted individuals that some of them are content creators, some of them are writers and directors, and it was a really fun episode. Maybe right off the top, if people haven't had enough of their Halloween Ends fix so far, and we are going to talk about things surrounding the film tonight, but we're not really going to talk about the film itself tonight. But if you want more of a talk or more discussion on the film itself, Mike, where can everybody find Take One at?
Yeah, available on all major podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Anchor. It was a really, really good in-depth episode. It's a long episode. It's a 2-hour episode, but it sure as hell didn't feel like it. And we went in, we gave our likes, our dislikes, and it was just a really good conversation. So if you want to check it out, it's available on Spotify, Apple, and all major podcast platforms. All you have to do is search the Take One podcast.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. It was very unique to get on there and hear, what I thought was actually a good diversity of takes on the film, and I thought it might have been a little more one-sided than it was, and I think there's definitely an entertaining discussion to tune in over there, so definitely tune into it. And by the way, right off the top, the number one way that you can help this channel out and this show out to get more eyeballs on it is slashing that like button. That's right. Just have a good hack at it like Michael does or Corey or somebody else. Have a slash at the like button. It really helps us out. Leave a comment. Let us know what you're thinking of the episode. Maybe some ideas that you have for future episodes, movies you want to see covered. Definitely check that out. And we said there was a new Patreon intro coming for this episode, man. And I think that now that we're not just doing a still image but actual video, it's a little more appreciation to those that support the channel on that level. And If you want to do that, head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/fandomempire. There's a bunch of new tiers and a bunch of new perks, so check it out. Number one place to find the content. And I'm going to tease this announcement, and I'm going to get Mike to help me out, and we've had no preparation.
Yikes.
There's an announcement coming soon, and I talked to Mike about it today, and we had a bit of a discussion back and forth, and I've talked to a couple of other, one being an author and the other being a notable content creator and filmmaker, um, about what we're going to announce, and both are involved on some level or another, as is Mike. And I just want to say, I know I'm talking kind of vague right now, but for those of you that backed our Indiegogo campaign a couple years ago, greatly appreciated. We have some massive news coming on that front. Those of you that are backers already know what that news is. And I just want to say, I knew there was a couple of people that were upset that we took so long getting to anything really, although with good reason. And some of them just simply don't want to talk anymore, and that's fine. There's only a couple of them. They kind of caused some disturbances at the channel, but I sort of get where they're coming from. Handle it a little better, maybe. But to 95% of you that backed our little fan film there, I think the payoff's going to be a lot bigger than we ever intended, which is nice. And the kind words that you guys sent over the last 48 hours or so, as I've sat down and had discussions with almost every single one of you, really does mean the world. So thank you for the kind words about not only myself, the channel, Mike, and some of the changes that you've seen here, including this show, the Overlook Drive-In. But before we go any further, Mike, I just got to know right off the top, in 60 seconds or less, your thoughts on the House of the Dragon season 1 finale.
Oh, okay. Man, I thought it was really, really good. I haven't had a chance to listen House of the Empire yet. That'll be my listen for tomorrow, so I'm super excited to dive into that here on Phantom Empire. But I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people, I think it's an episode that's really controversial as far as some people liked it, some people didn't, some people wanted more, some people thought it was perfect. And I fall in the line with I thought it was perfect. It was a very hard watch, especially in the beginning. If you've seen the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a very hard watch for me. And then there was a moment towards the end, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see coming. I kind of felt like something maybe was gonna happen, but what happened I did not expect. And all I can tell you is I am ready for Rhaenyra and Alicent to go at it. Like, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but that's just, I mean, we kind of figured that's where things were going to go anyways, even before this episode. But man, that's my queen, man. That's my queen right there.
Yeah, we do have a episode 10 breakdown, spoiler breakdown on the channel right now. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes long. So check that out for sure, although only if you've seen it because it's heavy spoilers. I'll say this and then we'll move on. I found it very curious that when Variety interviewed Ryan Condal, showrunner, co-showrunner this season, and then the main showrunner going forward, about if there was a chance at a 2023 release date still. And his answer wasn't outright no, it was to be determined. And I can't help but wonder, man, if they're going to take a page out of Stranger Things book. And I think there's some other series that have done it too. And they go, okay, so here's your first 5 episodes, but then you're going to have to wait 3 or 4 months for the next 5 episodes.
I hope not. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I guess Stranger Things wasn't as tough for me is because the episodes were so freaking long. I mean, some episodes 2 hours long, and then the break was only a month. Now, if they split it and the break is only a month, then I'd be fine with it. But I don't think it would be a month for House of the Dragon. My theory is if they were to split it, it's because they still got some more filming to do, or they got a lot more editing to do. I don't know how House of the Dragon is, but I know when it comes to Netflix shows that they're editing the episodes up until pushing release time. So that's the bad part about this. As the break, we're expecting 2024. If we can get late 2023, I would love that. But I think that 2024 is even going to be bigger, or season 2 is going to be bigger and more epic. And just the numbers that this show has brought in has been absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I believe season 1 number wise is like 3 or 4 million viewers off of season 8 of Game of Thrones, which is actually pretty good. I mean, if you think about the sour taste in a new show, coming into the works, that's pretty damn good. And each episode averaged 29 million. That's huge in itself.
Yeah, the last update I seen that they were in the 30s now. So I don't know if they've matched that number or surpassed that number. I know I seen an article that said something along the lines of certain episodes are up and above the Game of Thrones threshold, and then other ones are down slightly below it. Either way, to people were saying, myself included, hey, if this show can be half as successful as Game of Thrones, it's an achievement. Well, in many ways, and especially in terms of social media interaction, it's actually right on par, if not bigger.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. 29 million views average per episode. I mean, that's ridiculous. And I believe Game of Thrones season 8 was 34 million, I believe, and something like that, something crazy. So I don't know, man. I just I'm super excited to see where season 2 takes us. But I really enjoyed this first season. It went by really fast, though, really fast.
We won't keep you guys waiting anymore, though. We'll get right to the Halloween stuff. And in order to get
But one thing, good news for us: Yellowstone's right around the corner.
Honestly, I've forgotten all about it. I'll be honest, I'm not as high on that right now. I thought the last season was. I thought all the trailers leading up to the last season raised the stakes, and then they didn't do anything to actually raise the stakes in the season.
Makes sense.
So I'm hoping that there's less cop-outs and we see some traumatic things. Jamie Lee Curtis word, traumatic things in season 5 of Yellowstone, or 4, 5.
Damn it, you're confusing me now. 5.
I don't know if it's 4 or 5. I can't remember.
I believe it's 5.
Know what season of Yellowstone we're going on to right now? I think it's 4 or 5. But yeah, no, I'm excited.
I was super late to that show. Like, I'm not even done with season 4. I got 3 episodes left.
Oh, I was super late too. Like, Jade and I watched it all last year. Like, we'd never seen an episode, so it was decent. It was decent. I dig. James says 5. So yeah, and again, I can't say too much now, but there's not one but 2 really big announcements coming soon. And if you're a fan of visuals, or if you're a fan of audio, and more specifically, you're a fan of Halloween, stay tuned to the channel. More coming. Without further ado, though, coming attractions. All right, man. So help me through this. Be my virtual therapist for this evening, please. Maybe I'll have to be yours.
Might need to be mine.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, okay, let me start off by saying this. Whatever your opinion is on Halloween Ends, it is your right to have that opinion, as long as you understand that that opinion does not make it fact. Your opinion is your own, and it does not represent anybody else's views of the movie, even if you have similar views to someone else. At the end of the day, you can only speak for yourself. So whatever Mike and I are about to say here, don't take it personal. Just understand that everybody's opinion is their own. Dude, there's some fucking shit going on post this movie coming out that I just find another level of embarrassing. I know you've seen some of it.
But if I have to be honest with you, Shawn, I kind of checked out of Ends talk for a few days, just because, like, after my podcast, I mean, we talked about it. Me and you, we're just so exhausted about talking about it. But with some of the stuff going on, it's hard not to talk about it, and it's still a very controversial topic. So I'm interested to know, like, what are some of the other things?
Well, let's bring up a list. We have a checklist here. Oh, they ruined the carpet, sons of bitches. Let's start with the box office drop, man. Let's start off with a record-breaking at least for modern day. 81% drop off in the box office this past weekend. Now, to give you an idea, Halloween Kills, I believe, was around 72%, and that was considered really bad. And Halloween 2018, I believe, was either 53 or 58%, which is quite good for a horror movie. So here's my problem, man. Work with me on this one. The same people, and I'm not naming names because I'm not pointing to one person in particular, it's just a group of people online who were saying there's no way that Halloween Ends will make less money than Halloween Kills because A, no lockdown, no restrictions, and B, the price to see movies, every form of movie is higher. It went through a significant increase at the beginning of the year, significant in terms of percentages anyways. It ends up only being $1 or $2 though. And those are valid points, except for it's not going to make as much money as Halloween Kills. And now those same people are using those same reasons to back up, to support Halloween Ends and saying, well, this is the reason Halloween Ends isn't making as much money as Halloween Kills. And honestly, I think everybody needs to take a fucking step back and understand that the studio made some bad decisions. I'm not even talking creatively. I'm talking about distribution. And this is the outcome of that specifically. There's other factors at play, but make no mistake, man, any way you cut this, 81% is horrific.
Yeah, man, that's not a good look. That's pretty bad. You're right. There's several factors as to why this movie flopped in its second weekend. I know there's, to start out with the obvious, releasing it the same day as Peacock. And I literally mean the same day. Like the early showings was for Thursday. It released that Thursday night. Kills released that next day on Friday when it's, the official release date. You got your early showings on the Thursday, and then you have your official release on Friday. Ends released on Peacock on that Thursday when the early shows were showing. So that's, bad in itself right there. And the big thing is anytime that you release a movie on Peacock, like I know a lot of people that watched Halloween Ends. I do. 90% of them watched it on Peacock. They didn't go to the movie theater. We did, but I know a lot of people didn't waste their time going to the theater, whether they just didn't want to go. And I can tell you, if somebody really wanted to see Halloween Ends, they would have went to the theater. You didn't have to put it on Peacock. But again, that was the creative decision that they made that I thought was not the best decision to make. And then 2, word of mouth. There's a lot of people that did not enjoy this movie, and there's some people that enjoyed this movie. Word of mouth is huge. Is really, really big. And it's all about, the critics can say what they want. Some people listen to the critics. I listen to some, but I listen to more of what the fans say. And it's just not a good perspective. I can sit here, like, I'll give you an example. So Black Adam made about 67 million, Shawn. And I can guarantee you next weekend, it's not going to have that big of a drop off because of the word of mouth for Black Adam has been so positive. Like go on Rotten Tomatoes, the critic review is like 41%. It's not good, but the audience review is 90%. So the word of mouth from the fans and the audience are going to have people come back to that movie theater to go see Black Adam in the second week. So it's going to keep growing or at least stay, contingent of where it's at. Unlike Ends, you have a lot of people not liking the movie for the decisions that they made, and that word of mouth is not good. So people are going to say, why would I go to the movie theater to watch it when I can A, not watch it, or B, just watch it at home? So,
and this doesn't have the audience support. I know there's people that are championing this movie and they want to put it on a pedestal, and hey, that is your right. you want to go buy the poster and you want to throw it up on your wall and get the 4K when it comes out and treasure it, great. I'm happy for you. But can we stop the nonsense of it's 50-50 down the middle? It's not 50-50 down the middle. Just the people that don't like it are trying as loud as they can to, the people that do like it are trying as loud as they can to combat all the people that don't like it. And from what I see, just between social media interactions and reviews and the box office drop, it's like 70% of people hate this movie, 25% of people like this movie, and then there's like 5% that are some combination of in the middle, whether they're leaning one way or another, which actually really, makes it harder on the studio in terms of things, because as you just mentioned, Black Adam critically slammed, but the audience reception was there. Halloween Ends doesn't have that. Halloween Ends is 41% on Rotten Tomatoes, followed by 57% by the audience rating, and that's not good. That's not good at all.
I believe Kills is higher. At least in audience wise, I believe Kills is higher. I think critic wise, it's like 39, I believe, or 40. But I believe audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is in the upper 60s, I believe.
Yeah, 38 by the critics and 66 by the audience. So, but at the end of the day, who the fuck cares what anybody else thinks? If you love the movie, knock it off with the you just don't get it. That's why you didn't like it. It's just you can't comprehend the message that this movie's trying to send. And well, if you want to know about messages that this movie's sending, I strongly encourage everybody to go watch Pitch Meeting's take of Halloween Ends. Get your popcorn. You'll have maybe not the popcorn. You might choke on it, but watch the Pitch Meeting for Halloween Ends. It's really, really good. But yeah, the box office, any way you cut it, is abysmal. And I just can't believe the lengths some people are going to try to make excuses for it. It's okay. Sometimes movies that you like don't do well at the box office. I know I've had a few movies that I love that didn't do well at the box office. Now, the Batman did do well for what it was, but I was stunned that the Batman never made $1 billion. Like, for me, far and away, the best movie released this year, and it was like in the 700 millions. So sometimes it just doesn't pan out. Not everybody has to like the same thing that you like. And the more that you push that on people, the more the toxicity is going to stay. We've addressed the top three. The post-release media coverage, Mike. Now, I know you've heard this. You have a writer go on and do multiple interviews, and he states that it was Halloween Ends was never supposed to take place on the same night as Halloween Kills. And in that same time, David Gordon Green comes out and says, no, yeah, it was supposed to take place the same night as Halloween Kills. But since then, you now have David Gordon Green saying, well, look, the plan was never to have this big Laurie versus Michael showdown in Halloween Ends.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then I think it's somebody who tunes into the channel. I don't know the person's real name, but it's like Halloween Movie Source or something on Twitter. And I feel for them because I think they like the movie. And they're like, they were pointing to the box office and saying it doesn't deserve this kind of drop. And it's like, take anything that you see. Well, you can't even take anything you see on screen out of it. But like, it absolutely does. It 110% signed up for this drop, to a point we were talking in our staff chat before the movie ever came out. Man, that second weekend is going to be horrendous. It's going to be a bloodbath, and not in a good way. You marketed the movie as Michael versus Laurie. There's no, oh, well, it was an intentionally misleading marketing campaign, so they didn't spoil anything, and so that when you got into the movie, you enjoyed it more. Are you fucking kidding me? Please tell me you're not buying that shit.
I just think it's really interesting that, well, I don't think it's interesting. It makes sense that David Gordon Green is coming out and he's really just being right now that he's done with the films. He's being honest, right? He's finally being honest about what the true intentions was and everything. So yeah, he's being honest now, but again, in the marketing, it didn't go that way. And let's be honest, your average moviegoers want to go see this Halloween movie for the horror, for the suspense, and to see Michael Myers kill a bunch of people. And neither of those three things are in this movie. There's no horror, there's no suspense, and there's barely any Michael Myers. So when the word of mouth comes out going into that second weekend, you can expect like somebody like me, or just let's say your average moviegoer does go on that first opening weekend and they go tell a friend, hey, what'd you think of Halloween Ends? Well, I didn't really like it that much. Michael Myers wasn't in it really much at all. And they're going to be like, well, why the hell do I want to go see a Halloween movie without Michael Myers? So it's going to be hard to reel in your average moviegoers, if that makes sense. Again, whether the Halloween fandom likes this movie or not, you can pretty much bank on them coming to see this movie. But we talked about this plenty of times, Shawn. These movies are always going to market and reel in. I mean, we talked about it with Halloween Kills, right? They marketed a lot to do with Jamie Lee Curtis because they knew that the majority of the average moviegoers know who Jamie Lee Curtis is. They love her as an actor. Why wouldn't I want to go see Jamie Lee Curtis in this new Halloween movie? And she was in the movie on screen, 10 minutes most? So, I mean, it's just the way that they're going to do it, right? So, I don't know, man. It's just, I just think it's interesting that, everything's kind of coming out now.
Man, it's not to sound all douchey, and this is going to sound a little douchey, so apologies, but it's almost like a certain YouTube channel for the last several months has been trying to warn people that this was coming, and sure enough, it was. But let me tell you, when I said that some of the behind the scenes shit was going to come out after the movie came out, like I knew for a fact some of it was coming out, but I did not foresee it going this bad. Like I knew it was going to be bad, I knew it was going to be heated. But dude, like these guys can't get their story straight at all. To a point, David Gordon Green's doing interviews and revealing that Malaka Cad's already working on the next thing. And he says, "Well, that's what I'm excited for. I want to sit back, be a fan again, and look at the next one and be like, oh, you didn't do as good as mine." It's like, wow, that's like a super conceited thing to say in the interview. Like I just the horrible handling of this movie throughout its distribution and its coverage. No wonder, reports of Malaka Cad not being very happy are out there because like it's really easy to see. And the worst part about it is if you've read the Taking Shape books, which we're going to be covering extensively over the next couple of years on the channel, you know that this franchise has a history of doing this and too many creative people being involved. And they're like you in Halloween Ends, in my opinion, Mike, you can literally see the creative tug of war happening on screen. I've said that a bunch.
The good parts of these films. Let's take 18 out of it, because I feel like 18 was a pretty well written movie overall for the most part. So you take Kills and you take Ends, and we both agree that there are some good parts in those films. Who do you think wrote those good parts, if you had to guess?
I don't know. They apparently wrote it choose your own adventure style, right?
I know. That's what has me curious about that, because David Gordon Green said that basically when it came to certain scenes or a lot of the scenes that they would kind of go off and do their own thing, the three different writers, and they would come back and collaborate and then kind of pick the best one that made sense, which is really weird in my opinion. Because you get different flavors, I guess, throughout the movie. You're not sticking with like one whole theme, if that makes sense.
But let's not forget it. Regardless of what way they chose, and they chose a couple of ways, Jamie Lee Curtis gets to come in and say, "Nope, not doing that one," and then they move on with it. And hey, that's the route they go. That's the route they went, and it's not like they haven't been there before because they absolutely have. Hence the beginning of Halloween Resurrection, but that was a little bit on both parts. And then you add on the Jamie Lee Curtis, Danielle Harris stuff on top of it. Scout Taylor Compton. I don't want to take anything away from her since we're about to talk about her. It could not have gone worse. The PR is horrendous, and there's definitely, as much as I want to see another Halloween movie soon, there's been some brand damage here for sure.
Man, and I love Danielle Harris too, man. I'm a big fan of hers. I definitely think she's kind of milking this whole Jamie Lee Curtis thing a bit, eating it up, but not saying she's in the wrong for doing so. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's so weird. Everything's just so weird right now.
Are we about to get into our like very own House of the Dragon style Halloween war right here on the Overlook Drive-In, where you're Team Jamie and I'm Team Danielle? Is that what's going? Is that what's
I can't
going
do
on?
that.
How do we
I
name
can't.
those teams?
I can't do that. I love Danielle too much. I can't do that.
I think whenever they have a pod, first of all, I commend them for putting it on their podcast, because guess what? The second that happens, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, Jamie Lee Curtis has a way bigger following than Danielle Harris. That's just fact. I love Danielle Harris, but it's fact. Jamie Lee Curtis is also a better actress than Danielle Harris. That also is fact. So the second they put that out there, they got to know they're opening themselves up to criticism. At the end of the day, Jamie Lee Curtis has had like a bad history of treating other people in this franchise like shit, and the movies that she's not in like shit. Like, I've spent some time watching some of the making of Halloween H2O over the last week, and but speaking of shit shows, the making of that movie, my God, this person's in, this person's out, this person's in, this person's out. It's let's use this mask. Nope, change your minds. Not like it, oh my God, man.
Man, two decisions could have been made in that movie. I thought you put it best on the Take One podcast. Two decisions are made in that movie. It could be one of the best Halloween movies ever made. Now, again, it's one of my favorite, but you fix the mask and you fix the score, man. I mean, you got, yeah.
Maybe some of the lighting in some of the scenes too, but other than that, like, you have all the pieces there for a good rated R Halloween movie, and instead it gets milked down into Michael Myers visits Dawson's Creek. Yay! I don't know. It comes that way.
I'd pay to see that.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. I think I'd pay for Michael Myers visits Tree Hill first. Anyway, did I miss any points? I think there was one more on the list to get to. The changes were massive. I know there's some people out there saying that yeah, they were all on the same day, or this was the plan from the beginning. It's like, no, literally, when they went in to pitch this, they came in wanting to do 2 movies, and John Carpenter was the one that said, whoa, let's slow this down. Why don't you just do one?
Yeah, and also let's be honest here too. For it's just sticking on like the massive changes in ends. I mean, we've talked about it on here before as well. The endings that massively changed. And if you don't want to believe the things that we say, just go listen to Jamie Lee Curtis. She openly admits it. I think it's the Collider interview. So it's definitely out there that it's out there that at least 2 endings were shown, but there were several endings on the table. But yeah, and it ended up with the one that we got.
Yeah, I'll go over them again to an extent here really quickly. Is you get Laurie living in 2 of them, both of them dying in a third one, and then the fourth one, it seems like both of them die, but there's some vagueness whether Michael might have lived or not. And they went with the one Jamie Lee wanted, and kudos to her. She's got it. Now she can be done with it and move on. At the same time, I hope everybody understands that whatever movie comes next, the chance of it being anywhere near as successful as of these 3 movies financially, even this one right now that's going on, are slim to none, because you're not going to have Jamie Lee's name attached to it. Not saying the movies can't do good, but they're going to have to be a little more conscientious of their budget, unlike they were in the 2 of the 3 movies in this trilogy.
Never in my life, even seeing this movie last week, Shawn, and knowing what happens in this movie, and I knew there was going to be a drop off this week, never in my life would I imagine that Smile would outdo Halloween Ends. I mean, it's crazy.
It fell to 4. And the drop off in week 3 is going to be another big one. Like, this movie's not making $100 million worldwide. I'll give it this, though. The projections of what it was going to do overseas are much higher than what it was. Overseas has saved this movie and is probably going to allow this movie to at least break even and maybe even make a tiny little bit of money, which is quite remarkable. But again, they made enough off of Halloween 2018 that they could just sort of, coast the rest of the way and make the movies they want to make. At the end of the day, there's plenty of blame to lay on everybody. Just remember, everyone, though, we're all Halloween fans, at least most of us here. I like Halloween 4 not only better than H1, I think it's a better made movie than the first movie. And I know that I'm very, very alone in that. Yeah. So you can have your opinion. You can love this movie. I hope you do. I hope you gave you everything you want. But don't get mad at other people for not, thinking the same way that you do or wanting something new. They're going to get something new. We'll see how long it takes, but they're going to get something new.
Yeah, and real quick before we move off of this, I just want to touch on that too, because I've seen it all over Twitter, just bashing on both sides, and it really frustrates me. Like, I've said it plenty of times, and I'll sit here and I'll say it again. Let people love this movie. Let people hate this movie. Like, I know you want to come to this to the Halloween franchise movie defense, to speak your part, whether they did this wrong or I really appreciated the way that they did this. But don't it's good and it's cool to have like really good conversations of like what worked and what didn't work. But when you're sitting at the point to where you didn't like the movie so much that you're threatening actors that are in the movie, that you're creating petitions, or you flip it on the other side, either way, like, it's not cool. Let people love it, let people hate it. I never understood trying to take away somebody's love or hate for film. That's what makes everything so beautiful. We all love movies. We all hate movies a certain way. Some stuff sticks with us more. The movie we're about to talk with tonight, one of my good friends absolutely loves Rob Zombie's films. I don't agree with him, but I'm not going to take away his love and how these movies hit for him. And I wish everybody on the internet, I know this is a crazy ask because it's never going to happen, can just be respectful. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah, it would be nice, but it doesn't help that you have some content creators literally going around stirring up some of this shit. Like, try to use your head. If you feel like something might be off with someone that you're watching, or they're making you feel uncomfortable, don't watch. Us included. Like, if we make you feel uncomfortable and it feels like that we're just ragging on stuff you love and you're not getting enjoyment out of it, don't watch. I know some of their personalities are fantastic and you want more of their content, but if their opinion doesn't have to line up with yours, but you ultimately get to decide how you spend your time. Just remember that.
And I agree. Like, if you love listening to us, you're not always going to agree with everything that we say. I don't agree with Shawn saying Halloween 4 is better than the first Halloween, but he enjoys it a lot more. I'm never going to take that away from him. I mean, I love H4. Maybe that's a big factor why, but either way, it goes back to, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to stir up anything. And I've been seeing a lot of that on the internet over the past week. And it's just really bugs the shit out of me, dude. And I don't get it. I really, really don't get it.
Wait, what? Soon.
Yeah,
Soon.
That'll be a whole debate soon too.
Soon.
Oh,
all I'm saying, soon.
Have you been on Twitter the past couple of days?
No, man. I've been stupid busy. Not really. Why? What's up?
Did you see that fake Scream teaser that was floating around? It looked.
I heard that there was something floating around, but I did not see it.
It looked really fucking real. People are saying it's fake. I'm gonna have to send it to you. It does. It looks really legit though. But
Ken says wrong, and Campbell did no wrong. You're right. He
did not.
I thought, and I still stand by this, Rohan has one of, if not the best performance in a Halloween movie I've ever seen. But here's really another example of they knew what they were doing to an extent, is they were telling him that people are going to hate this movie. You're going to get backlash.
Yep,
And you still went and made the fucking movie. Like, ugh, I get it. Subverting expectations is a thing, but sometimes you go too far. So, but hey, if you love this movie, I'm happy for you. Just remember that your opinion is your own, and other people are entitled to it. It's not a matter of, Mike, you just don't get it. You're too stupid, Mike, to understand why Halloween 4 is better than. Don't do that to people. That's not cool. Plus, Mike has an Eagles hat on. Don't blame him.
I kind of felt like you meant what you just said, but I'll let it slide.
No, definitely not. But yeah. So be on the lookout for that tune that I might have just done a terrible job at humming, because there might be some news coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, I think honestly, man, I think we'll be getting news on that soon. And I think based off of the timeline for Scream, I think we'll be getting a trailer here in November or early December. So horror is not done. I think it's just picking up.
Aren't you stoked for The Conjuring 3, man? Or 4? Is it 4 or 3? 4?
I stand on a hill. Like, well, I don't know. I say some people might agree with me when I say this. I think The Conjuring, the first movie, is one of the best horror movies I've seen. Probably top. Honestly, man, maybe top 3 best horror movies I've ever seen in the past 15 years. 2, I enjoyed. This third one, yikes. I just don't want them pushing their buttons. Like, I really thought that they should have stopped it too. And I'm not the biggest fan. Like, I have really high praise for that first Conjuring. I enjoyed the second one, but the Conjuring experience or Conjuring world overall, I'm just not the biggest fan of.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Q&A time here at the channel. So submit those questions. We're going to spend about 3 minutes just rapid fire going through the questions. Although if you want to support the channel on another level and interrupt our discussion at any point during the show, you can send in a super chat. That goes a long way to helping us out. But the number one way to support the channel and get extra content, including an episode of the Overlook Drive-In Gold Room, which is this show, minus the pre-topic that you just experienced, and we get right into a movie review. Our first one is going to be Halloween 5 over on Patreon. That'll be out in the next 7 to 14 days or so. And we're going to be joined by Kieran on that one. Now, Kieran's scores are not going to affect Mike and I's scores, because that would affect the score chart that you'll see debuted next week, which will have all of our score rankings listed on there from all the movies that we've done. But the guest will have their own separate list. So be on the lookout for that, and you can sign up for that today on our Patreon, and that's patreon.com/fandomempire. And another thing we got going on at the channel right now is Making the Shape, a Halloween series that a combination of Mike and myself will be diving into the making of the movies that did come out and what the hell happened to the ones that didn't, because there's some interesting stories there. And the very first one we're doing actually is a Halloween 5 Halloween 4 sequel that was going to be Halloween 5, called The Killer Inside Me, the Lost Halloween movie. So be on the lookout for that, because let me tell you, that one is a very intriguing one. That's one that I finished reading and went, oh, yeah, they should have done that idea.
I can't wait to read that. I'm going to read it probably this weekend, over the weekend. So I'm super excited to dive into that, dude.
Awesome. Yeah, let's take a look at what the chat is saying. And if you can't think of a question, feel free to answer this question in the chat. Did you want a third Rob Zombie Halloween movie? Comment below, yes or no. And we'll see what everybody has to say. And again, click that like button, slash that like button, do whatever you want to that like button, or else Corey's coming to get you.
Actually, that is kind of creepy. Corey can put together some kills. I give him that.
Yeah, don't piss that guy off.
Oh, he'll cut your tongue off.
And no, his arch nemesis, the marching band. Which, by the way, Mike, let me point this out to you. The marching band bullies Corey to a point where he gets hurt, and but then Corey, or the kid that got bullied by the marching band, goes and bullies the baddest serial killer of all. I'm sorry,
so you've only seen Ends once, right?
I haven't been able to bring myself to see it a second time yet.
So I watched it a second time, and on the second watch, one thing that I didn't notice in the movie theater, we actually do see Michael before that first time in the sewer. When Corey falls off, when he gets thrown off the bridge, and like it pans up of him laying on the ground, and you see the homeless guy by the fire.
Mhm.
Right there in the right corner, you see Michael walking towards Corey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't see that on my first watch, but
I remember seeing him getting dragged in.
yep, you see Michael walking towards him in the right. You see his white mask coming straight for him.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Well, somebody said that you see Michael before you see him in the sewer, and I'm like, you're fucking lying. Like, it's not true. And then I watched it on the second time, and sure enough, he's right there.
Changed my mind, Mike. I love the movie. I'm in. I'm buying it.
Dude, it's an extra 1.2 seconds.
Oh, wow. So now we're up to 10 minutes and 39.2 seconds or something like that. So, oof. So
that sewer is fake, by the way. It was just put there for the movie. I was watching somebody doing filming locations, and that sewer is not there.
I think I just seen something about that. Let's take a look at what people are saying in the chat here really quickly. Does Michael speak at the end of Kills when his mask is stolen? No. Sam Hain. Best ending. Jamie Lloyd shows up and shoves Laurie into a car. Okay, so you got my horns, but you get this from Mike.
Yeah, I can't give that to you.
Jade says, okay, but do you believe in all of that, Mike? Like ghosts and shit. I'm watching 28 Haunted right now, which has a lot of the Warren places.
I do. And which is crazy to say because I've never had any experiences. I don't know if you have, Shawn. But I do.
I don't know if I want to hear this. We're moving into somewhere where people died in the house. Don't be putting this in my head. Don't do it.
Okay. Jade, I do believe in this. And ghost and shit. I believe in that. I don't know if ghost shit, but I believe in ghost and shit.
How much of the novelization was cut from the film? They're two separate entities, really. I mean, if you look at any of the novelizations to any of these movies, there's full-on events that happen in them that don't happen in the movie.
Did you read them? Any of them, Shawn?
2018.
Was it good?
Yeah, actually, I really liked it. Although, again, there's certain things that happen in 2018 that when Halloween Kills takes place, it's like, wait, but didn't you say that this place was something else in that? Don't read into the novels. It's a fun little side canon, guys. Like, if you like the novel better, and more times than not, the novel is better than the movie because there's more information in it. Great, but don't take the novel as like, oh, hey, this is exactly how the original script was, because that's not how it works. Ken says, Conjuring 3 bored me to a point of wanting to see Michael Myers show up and kill everyone and leave. Matthew says, I hope Halloween movie can be made without any legacy characters. I want something new. I'll have to wait and see. Pumpkin Man says, or asks, has anyone read the Halloween Ends novelization yet? I received mine in the mail the other day. And in terms of the question we asked, more Rob Zombie movies. Justin says hell no. Ken says hell no. Juan says no. Rob Zombie's Halloween 3. No, that was actually called Halloween 3D, which in fact was a follow-up to Rob Zombie's movies, but wasn't actually going to be done by Rob Zombie. And actually probably sounds better than maybe both of his movies, and yet still horrifically terrible. Opening scene in Halloween Ends was a precursor of a bad film. I like the opening scene in Halloween Ends.
I love it. Honestly, it's probably my favorite part of the movie. If I'm being honest, I got to really sit back and think about that. Honestly, it wouldn't take me long, but, I talked about it on our review here on the show. I talked about it on the Take One podcast. Shawn, the movie had me interested up until that first 50 minutes.
Yeah. I was buying into it. The unfortunate part is they didn't buy into their own story they were telling. So that kind of ruined the whole thing. Dean says, Corey's coming back. I'll say this. I would not rule out the possibility. Some people aren't going to like this. Dean might just fucking flip shit over this. If they decide, you know what? We really like Andy Matichak, even if it's not Blumhouse and Universal, because it won't be. But Trancas might go and Malaka Cab might go, we really like Andy Matichak. Let's do something with her. They can continue that story if they want, and you might be able to spin it as, hey, Michael transferred his essence into person X, and here's what you didn't see before Michael walks into the Myers house. And yeah, the body dies, but the shape lives on in someone else, and that person essentially becomes Michael Myers. I wouldn't be against a continuation like that. I know some people might be like, that's stupid, but like, if he is the essence of evil, why can't he then take over, some schmuck?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and I think you mentioned it on our last live channel. When David Gordon Green was being interviewed by Collider, and Perry asked him, is Michael really dead? Or Michael is like definitively dead now. And he was like, did we kill it? We definitively killed him off. And he was like, did we though? And then she read the part of when Lori is typing her novel, where evil just changes shape. She mentioned that, and David Gordon Green was like, I'm glad you caught that. So,
was the supernatural stuff ever going to be addressed? I would argue that it is literally on display in the movie, and then they decide, you know what? Even you just seen him doing this weird morph stroking.
I was about to say, my man is having seizures in the sewer.
Yeah, like he's, and then they just don't follow it up. They have no idea what they were fucking doing with this, like at all. And that's where I'm saying you see the creative tug of war happening on screen. Anyways, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Without further ado, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Get those scorecards ready. Curious to see where this lands with everybody.
Let's go!
All right, here we go. Rob Zombie's Halloween. It opened August the 31st, 2007. I had very mixed feelings when I heard that they were remaking Halloween, specifically because I was told time and time and time again Halloween 9 was coming. Not just by internet people and my cousin and websites, but like HalloweenMovies.com literally told you multiple times Halloween 9 was coming. And guess what? It never came. Mike, are you old enough to remember what your reaction was to hearing Rob Zombie was going to do Halloween?
I remember my first time seeing the movie. But my reaction, honestly, man, I had no fucking idea who Rob Zombie was. At my age, I did not know who he was. So honestly, all I knew was they were remaking the movie, and I wasn't a fan that they were remaking one of my favorite movies of all time, because at that point I just heard remakes were nothing but garbage. So I guess particularly when it comes to Rob Zombie remaking this film, I had no idea who the guy was.
Yeah, I think my reaction went to something a little like this. I was pretty against a Rob Zombie Halloween movie right from the get-go. But I gave it a chance. I went and seen it. Actually, that's a lie. The first way I seen Rob Zombie's Halloween was a work print of the film leaked like a week or two before the film actually came out. And it's actually different than the final film that you see in theaters. And it's also different from the director's cut that he released later. So that was my first experience with it. And then I went to see it with my cousin, and there were parts that I liked. There were parts that I didn't like. We'll get into that in the film, but let's dive into some facts about the movie. But first, the overlay. Written a Rob Zombie Rob Zombie film. Fuck sakes, I am butchering this. Kind of like Rob Zombie butchered the movie. Anyway, Rob Zombie film, Halloween, written by Rob Zombie, directed by Rob Zombie, produced by Rob Zombie, Andy Gold, and Maleka Cad, distributed by the Weinstein Company and Dimension Films, starring Scout Taylor Compton, Brad Dourif, Danielle Harris, and Malcolm McDowell. Music by Tyler Bates. Cinematography by Phil Parmit. Production budget was $15 million. Box office results produced $80 million worldwide. It was a big hit at the box office. Debuted at number 1 at the worldwide box office and stayed there for 1 week. As I stated earlier, it opened August 31st, 2007. Production companies included Trancas International, Weinstein Films, Dimension Films, Nightfall Productions, and Spectacle Entertainment. Runtime was 109 minutes. Facts about the film. I don't know if you knew about any of these, Mike. I'd be curious to hear what ones you did. John Carpenter and Rob Zombie had a feud where John Carpenter was just told, at least this is Carpenter's side of the story, he said that he told Rob Zombie to go and do whatever he wants, make it as his own, it's his now. And Rob Zombie told someone, one of the big entertainment places, that he felt that Carpenter was very standoffish and didn't really help him at all, didn't really have anything to say, to which John Carpenter responded, "He's a lying piece of shit." Did you hear about any of that mess?
You know what's actually funny about that? I actually just saw the video of what John Carpenter said. Said that he supported Rob Zombie and what he was doing at first. And then Rob Zombie basically, like you said, went and kind of lied about that. And then that's when John Carpenter said, you know, he's a lying piece of shit. So I actually just saw that video the other day.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of informative information out there. Taking Shape really dives into some of that too. So definitely check that out. In Scout Taylor Compton's first scene, she nearly killed Tyler Main. For whatever reason, I guess she went and grabbed her own prop instead of a prop person handing it to her. And she grabbed a real knife and proceeded to stab Tyler Main. Thankfully, she didn't have enough force, so it was a mere flesh wound. Boy, that's a pretty bad start. Did you hear that one? Because I did not till I started doing research for this film.
No, I didn't hear anything about that at all. I actually, Scout Taylor Compton and Danielle Harris just had Tyler Main on their podcast, so I'm really interested to hear that conversation and see how that goes after all these years. But no, I didn't hear about that at all.
Scout ran into more safety issues as she almost fell 20 feet off of a platform, but Maine caught her before she fell. Sounded like it was a few brutal days on set for her.
Yeah, and you something else that I want to know if you heard about. So the balcony scene at the end where Michael Myers runs and tackles her through the window off the balcony onto the ground. Well, the stunt double who filled in for Scout Taylor Compton actually broke her back during that scene and had to go to the hospital.
Yeah, no, that actually is a fact. It's one of the reasons why you just get this weird cut there. They didn't want to show the aftermath of it.
Tyler Main kind of felt responsible for that because during that scene, it wasn't Tyler Main does a lot of his own. Pretty much, he said he did pretty much all of the stunt work in this movie except for that scene because he wasn't there. So the guy actually tackling that girl off of the roof is actually not Tyler Main, and he said he felt like if he was there, he would have been able to kind of prevent that in a way. I don't know how, but he said he felt kind of responsible for having other obligations and not being able to be there for that scene.
Yeah, I mean this production was littered with issues, and sadly, safety became went to the forefront of them. The powers that be went through about a dozen or more versions of Halloween 9 before finally deciding to reboot the franchise and do a Rob Zombie remake. Would you have preferred them to continue on post Halloween Resurrection, rather than remaking the films. Because ultimately, I think remaking the films actually did the brand more damage than anything else.
I don't know, man. Can you add? I feel like I can answer this question better when I'm done diving into the Taken Shape. Just because I feel like it has what the plans were for H9 films in there. And I can kind of see what those ideas were compared to what we got from Rob Zombie. So I'm not sure. What about you?
Yes, I'll leave it at that. There was a lot better ideas than that, but one of them, they were going to go with a full-on Busta Rhymes led Freddie Harris Halloween 9 at one point, because Dimension had him optioned for 2 more films, and I just thought to myself, "Wow, that would have been the franchise killer."
I have something to say, and I don't know. Tell me how off I am when I say this. Busta Rhymes is one of the most memorable characters in all of the Halloween films. I didn't say for good reason. I'm just saying anytime somebody brings up Halloween Resurrection, what the very first thing they go to is Busta Rhymes.
Trick or treat, motherfucker! Yeah,
Or that every single time. And you can be remembered for bad shit. And I have to say, like, probably like if you go down every single movie, a lot of people will give you a lot of different reasons why they love or hate it. But I feel like when it comes to Resurrection, it's always like he is the one consistent number one thing that gets brought up.
Yeah,
Not saying it's a good thing.
he's memorable for all the wrong reasons.
I would agree.
Rob Zombie wanted to shoot 2 films. The first one being where we just focus on young Michael to the point where he gets incarcerated. We see Loomis's treatment, and then at the very end of the film, as an adult, we see him break out, and that's where the movie ends. And then the second film would be more in line with John Carpenter's original. He got outvoted by everybody on that, and they told him to fuse them into one movie, and that's why, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Why this is not a very good paced film. Because it feels like 2 movies becoming one. It quite literally did.
So would you rather have seen that the way that he wanted to do it? Or would you rather just not have seen Michael's childhood at all?
I would have been okay with seeing that because it would have been different, and we still would have got the Halloween buildup at the end as he escapes, being incarcerated.
Yep.
The school bullying idea came from Rob Zombie's own childhood. And then last but not least, we have Malcolm McDowell had never watched a Halloween movie. Therefore, he had never seen Donald Pleasance on screen as Dr. Loomis. And obviously, they're going for a different thing with these films. But I just cannot, justify that at all.
Especially that second one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know we're not talking about it, but my God.
Dean says, who wants 2 hours at Smith Grove? I just said I do, man. I think you can make a compelling, suspenseful film. More suspense than we just got in that most recent one. Jeez. Most suspenseful thing was wondering when Corey was going to find the ketchup chips or not. That's probably just good for Canadians. I don't think you guys have ketchup chips down there, do you?
Is it chips that taste like ketchup?
Kinda, yeah. It's like a powdery ketchup residue that's on them. I'll have to send you a bag. But yeah, that's going to do it for the facts. So let's dive into the movies. First up, sir, it is story and pacing. We just tipped our hat in terms of the pacing because 2 movies became one. But in terms of the story, we follow a young Michael Myers, and the years have changed. The the backstory is told in 1978 in this film instead of the current day stuff. Michael has the mask in the flashback. He has a baby sister named Angel Myers. Goes on to kill Judith and the boyfriend and the stepdad. We see him going through treatment with a very interesting interpretation of Dr. Loomis. He ends up killing the one nurse that's there. Sherry Moon Zombie, forget her name in the movie already. Something Myers anyway. Is it Deborah Myers? I think it might be Deborah Myers.
Maybe.
But blows her own brains out, which leaves Angel without a mom or a family, and hence her becoming Laurie Strode. And we fast forward many years later to Rob Zombie's take on John Carpenter's Halloween, basically. Dude, your thoughts on the story and pacing of Rob Zombie's Halloween?
Man, story-wise, I don't hate it as much as everybody. It's the pacing for me. That is exactly like the pacing is what really affects this category for me, and really this movie. It's just not paced well. I think you kind of explained it in the earlier. It feels like you get kind of two separate movies in one, or feel like that's what kind of they were jammed into here. So the pacing for me just doesn't work. Story wise, man, I really don't mind. There's stuff when it comes to the writing and directing that we'll get to a little bit later that I have big problems with. But as far as like the overall story, I like the fact that this is the first movie where we kind of got to see young Michael and kind of what he went through and kind of what led him to become what he was. Now, I know a lot of people don't like that because they kind of they like to know that, because it kind of comes off kind of like what they did with Corey, that the bullying kind of led Michael to where he was in a sense. And a lot of people just like Michael being that pure evil or really not knowing what happened. So I understand where a lot of people are coming from when they have that issue. But we had got that so many years in a sense. So I'm glad that this movie kind of did something different as far as story wise. So overall story, I didn't mind at all. I thought it was a really good story. I just didn't like the pacing, but like, I feel like the writing and directing also kind of affects the story. Like I find it really hard to separate those two, but I'm trying my best to. So overall for story and pacing, story, I didn't mind so much. I thought it was pretty solid. Pacing was a really big negative for me, dude. Like even still to this day. So score wise, I gave it an overall 5.
Okay, so this movie's terribly paced for the reasons that we've already been over. Rob Zombie himself has said, hey, the reason why the pacing shit in that movie is it's two movies combined into one. Just a switch flips, and all of a sudden we're in his version of John Carpenter's Halloween.
So let me ask you this. If you were in his shoes, would you have, knowing that they denied you not doing two separate movies as far as Mike, would you have told his child story, or would you kind of skip that, knowing that you were kind of forcing it?
I wouldn't have done it. And that's one of my problems with the story is any mystery surrounding Michael Myers, aka the Shape. Let's be honest, he's not the Shape in this movie. He's not the Shape in either of Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. It's just not how he is portrayed in those movies. You take the mystery out of it. You take the mystique out of it. That eeriness is gone. He's a big dude with an attitude who will smash your face in, which is cool. But like, he misses a lot of what makes Michael Myers, and they get rid of it so early on. I appreciate the way the current stuff plays out with Laurie and Annie and company. And I think the back half of the movie is way stronger than the front half of the movie. But man, I think the pacing's so bad, and I can't stand the fucking Rob Zombie style dialogue that's at the beginning of that movie. People talk about fucking, I can't watch House of the Dragon because of this scene. It's like, I'd still watch that shit before I fucking have to sit through Rob Zombie dialogue for 2 hours because it's fucking atrocious.
See, I didn't want to bring that up because I was going to leave that in the writing and directing. So I understand exactly where you're coming from, though. if you everybody who's seen this movie, just know the first time I saw this movie, Shawn, was in the theater with my mother.
Oh,
Yeah, very uncomfortable.
I bet, man. The question is, what do you guys score the story and pacing of Rob Zombie's Halloween? Comment below whether you're watching live. And for the love of God, if you're not watching live, keep commenting. We read the comment section. We honestly do. So comment down below what your score for the story and pacing of Rob Zombie's Halloween is. Mike gave it a 5, pardon me. I'm giving it a 4. 4 out of 10 for me for story and pacing, which brings us to the acting. Mike, what do you think about the acting in this movie? I'm really curious to see where this is going to land for you.
You already know my scores, damn it.
I don't know your opinion behind them.
I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was okay. I thought it was good, solid. No, nothing Oscar winning nomination wise. Nothing like I'm gonna throw it in the trash bag wise. I have to be honest with you, man. No, go ahead.
You monster. Got ahead of myself. Before you give us your acting, I just want to read the story and pacing. I got ahead of myself there.
Oh yeah, go
ahead. Dean is splitting it into 2 different categories. He's saying stories 5, pacing 6.5. Wow, Dean's being generous. Justin's given it a 0. Ken's given it a 4. Heath has given it a 6.5. Same with Entertainment Wizard. Melissa's given it a 0. The pacing in the Cole edits cut, I can give a 7.5. I haven't seen that. How is the Cole edits cut? Did Cole edits do an alternate version of Halloween H2O? Tell them to go do that. Heath is giving it he's splitting it way up. The way I came up with my above score: story 8, pacing 5, divide 6.5. That makes sense. Sam Haynes says story is 5, pacing is 3. Steve is saying a 6 out of 10. Justin's reiterating 0. So there is story and pacing. Now switching gears to the acting, man. Carry on. Where were you with the acting?
Yeah, man, I thought it was good. I've been on record to say that I think Danielle Harris and everything that she's in, as far as this Halloween franchise, she does absolutely phenomenal in this movie. I love Brad Dourif as her father in this movie. I think that he does a really good job, more specifically in that second film. But I mean, even in both films, he does a phenomenal job. I love Scout Taylor Compton as Lori. And if I'm being honest, I love Tyler Mane as Michael Myers. I mean, he's so different than what we've got in the past. That I really enjoy him as Michael. Now, as you heard me say, I enjoy him as Michael Myers. Like, I agree wholeheartedly with Shawn based on the story and based on the way Tyler Mane plays Michael, which even though I don't think is bad, it's so different. He's not the shape. So for me, when I go back, like, and like, again, we'll dive into it in the writing and directing. The dialogue is the big problem here. I enjoyed the acting overall, dude. So for me, I'll give it a 7.5.
I think that the acting in Rob Zombie's Halloween is actually better than the acting in most Halloween movies. I don't have a problem at all with the acting in this film, and I'm glad that you brought up Brad Dourif because he's fucking sensational in these movies. I know everybody goes for Charles Cyphers, but I got to be honest, my favorite bracket is Brad Dourif. I think he's exceptional, and really, I'm not saying he's the only person that performs well. They all perform very well in these movies. I think they make, some servable chicken salad out of a lot of chicken shit. And he's incredible. Danielle Harris is really good. Scout Taylor Compton, I actually really, really enjoyed. I like Tyler Mane as a Jason style Michael Myers kind of. again, the acting in this film is very, very good.
Uh,
Boy, if it wasn't as good as it was, it would be even more unwatchable, in my opinion.
No, I definitely agree. And I know we're not talking about this film tonight, but I do want to make a comment when it comes to Brad Dourif because I know we're talking about him and we're giving him his flowers. As much as I don't like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I think one of the most emotional scenes in the Halloween franchise is when Brad Dourif finds his daughter Danielle Harris um, in that bathroom in that second film. He does such a phenomenal job. That scene is super emotional, but it just goes to show kind of what Brad Dourif brings to the table as an actor.
No, I totally, I'm spot on for that. That's really, really, really good.
Okay, door bumper clear. I see.
Oh my god, yeah. So yeah, I listen to that too much. But yeah, no, it's Brad Dourif's amazing. Could you imagine? Even Malcolm McDowell. Hey, I don't like the interpretation of Loomis, but Malcolm McDowell's a hell of an actor. You know, there's a reason he has the resume he has.
Yeah. Again, he's not my Loomis, and I don't like the way that he was portrayed in Rob Zombie's films. But he's really good in this movie. Now, I would say, I'm sure we'll talk about it down the line, but Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I think he's probably one of the worst in that movie.
I've said it a billion times on this channel. That character is so horrendously bad in that movie. It's funny as fuck to watch. I think it's one of the more rewatchable parts in Halloween. Just
And
to go through his material in that movie and laugh.
and you know what's crazy? You might have to give Michael McDowell his flowers for that because he went into that. I mean, he did great as far as what was written on script, but it was just bad.
Yeah, he was a bit of a shit disturber on set too. He liked to pull a lot of pranks and try to crack people up. Those bloopers are all over YouTube. So
I
feel free.
heard.
Well, the question is, what do all of you think of the acting? Comment down below. What do you give the acting out of a 10? We would love to know whether you're watching live or after the fact. Participate in the discussion below. Let's have some healthy fandom discussion. Could you imagine that? Healthy fandom discussion. Turns out people can have a conversation without threatening to kill the other person. I'm giving the acting an 8 out of 10 in this film. I honestly felt a little dirty even giving it an 8, man. I thought that maybe it deserved more than that. The acting is not the issue in this film. But without further ado, in just a few moments here, we're going to get to what is next up, cinematography. But let's see what everybody is saying about the acting. Sam Haynes saying a 7. Entertainment Wizard says 7.5. That guy's stuff says 4 had the best acting. I agree. That guy's stuff. I agree. Bo Star, baby. Bo Star. Heath is giving it an 8. Steven's giving it an 8. What's going on, Steven? I think I just did you just show up now? Spooky gives it an 8. Steve gives it a 7.5. Justin's giving it an 8. And Justin Smith says acting is only is a 1 only because of Brad Dourif. Oh man, harsh critic. Harsh critic. Heath Denson says reasons for 8. Tyler Maine, Scout, Brad Dourif, Malcolm McDowell. I think those are solid reasons. But anyways, let's keep this ball rolling. We're going to the cinematography. Okay, so for me, the problem with the cinematography in this film is it's not bad. It's also not good. It's just kind of normal and
Fair.
average, and they don't do anything interesting, in my opinion, with it. Most Halloween films have some sort of interesting take on a shot or a sequence or something, and this feels like a more point and shoot. And I didn't really understand the choice. I don't have anything egregious to say about the cinematography. I think the best it is the pool scene towards the end.
Yes, I was gonna say the exact same thing. The exact same thing. I'm glad you brought that up. When you get that kind of POV shot of Lori down in the pool, and you just see Michael's 9-foot ass just walking around the corner, like, oh man. I mean, it's such a really good shot. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite part of the movie too, if I'm being honest. Just the way that that scene plays out. He smashes through the cop car window, grabs her out of there. I really really dug it, but again, all in all, it did nothing to impress me, man. Like at all, I didn't leave the movie theater going, man, remember this shot in the film? I just can't stop thinking about it. For example, without spoiling too much, there was a very specific shot that happened in Sunday's episode of House of the Dragon, that featured dragons, and everybody's talking about it because it's cinematic mastery. Yeah, like it was just phenomenal, and there's nothing of that sort in these movies. Um, and it's a little disappointing if I'm being honest, man. What did you think of the cinematography?
I agree, man. There's a couple of shots that I really enjoy in this film. The pool scene being one of them. Um, the scene where Michael is standing on the balcony, I really enjoyed. And I'm not somebody who likes or to see Michael's eyes at all. Like I'm definitely one of those people who likes the blackness of Michael's eyes. I think that's just the way it should be. But for some reason, when I think about this movie, Sean, when he first goes and pulls the mask out from under the floor and puts it on, I mean, you can clearly see his eyes, but I guess just the way Tyler Mane looks around when he first puts that mask on, that's really memorable for me. And I'm not an eyes person when it comes to Michael. So for that to be kind of memorable for me, I think says a lot. But outside of that, there's really nothing that I enjoy. I mean, or that blow me away, I should say. I mean, I guess, and the big thing is I feel like they didn't really go for any like crazy shots in this movie. I think that they kind of just went into this movie wanting to distribute and put on a show for Tyler Mane's size in this movie. I felt like they really focused on his size compared to other people in the movie, which obviously it's not hard to do. Tyler Mane is a very big guy. But yeah, when it comes to the cinematography, no really big shots or memorable scenes that kind of stick with me outside of the 2 or 3 that I named.
I think there's an example right here on the photos that we have up. The top left, you can't really see his eyes, and the bottom left, you see all of his eyes. So it's
Yeah, it's like one of those movies where most of the time you don't really see his eyes, but like there are a lot there it's like 50-50. Like there's some shots that you really do see his eyes as well.
yeah, I think when you don't see his eyes in this mask, the mask looks money, and when you do, much like Halloween H2O, it really takes away from the mask. You want to stare into those black abysses.
Yeah, and I don't know, like again, this isn't one of my favorite movies, so I haven't like done any like super research into this. But especially at least for this first Rob Zombie Halloween movie, I really enjoyed The Mask. How do you feel about it?
I liked it a lot more when it first came out. I was kind of like, yeah, that's awesome. But then you see the film and you see how much his eyes do show up, and it's more than I'd like. And again, like
Yeah.
it's a tale of two stories. Top left, I think it looks fantastic. Bottom left, less
All
than.
right. So take the eyes out of it. Like if you own this mask, do you think it's a mask you would own?
Um, if it was done right, sure, yeah. Like if it was customized a little bit, for sure. Like there's have mask coming. It's a Halloween 4 mask. Is it what you see in the movie? No, it most certainly isn't. Um, and I like that one, and I like the way it looks. So I'm very particular when it comes to that sort of thing, man. I'm extremely picky.
I got you. I don't blame you at all. But yeah, I mean, I definitely understand. Outside of that first scene when he first puts it on, I don't know why that image sticks with me when it comes to his eyes, because I am not a Michael Myers show eyes type of person, just not at all. But
What do
I
you
I agree.
what are you giving the cinematography, man?
I gave it a 7. Again, I don't think it's nothing to flip shit over, but it's nothing to shit on either. It's just they were kind of right there.
Looks like we have some cinematography answers in the chat. Get to that in a second. I gave it a 6. I could not justify giving it a higher mark than a 6. Uh, Ken is giving it a 3. Justin's giving it a 3. Sam Hayden's giving it a 4. Melissa's giving it a 2. Entertainment Wizard 6.5. Justin's a 5. Steve is a 5. Scores are very low on this movie so far for the audience, so I'll be curious to see where their overall scores end up. But let's keep the train rolling here as we getting to writing and directing. The writing in this movie is fucking abysmal. Like, it is terrible. It is the worst written Halloween movie of them all, in my opinion. To the point, I think Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is written better than this movie. I fucking hate the writing in this movie, man. I find it unforgivable. And you know, guess what? Ended up being Rob Zombie that wrote it too.
Yeah, I think I was a little nice when it came to my score on this. But I definitely think that this is the worst category for me and in my eyes. Again, I went and saw this movie with my family. It was a very, very uncomfortable movie from the very jump to be a part of and to witness with your family. There are some, especially in the director's cut, some scenes that I think should never be in a film. There's no reason to throw those type of scenes in there. Just me personally, I don't watch the director's cut. I've seen the director's cut once. Just not a fan of it. Not a fan of it at all. And the person who wrote that in there was Rob Zombie. So, you know, this is really all on him. The dialogue is terrible in this movie. And that's all on him. And when I say terrible in this movie, I'm not talking like corny. I'm talking about just like disgusting. Like
disgusting.
Yeah. So not a fan of it at all. Probably a little nicer than I should have been. But yeah, man, not a fan when it comes to this. The directing, I guess the same. It's kind of whatever in my opinion. The writing is what sticks out to me when it comes to this category. I feel like if the writing would have been a lot better, the directing, in my opinion, would have been a lot better as well. But when you have really shitty dialogue and disgusting dialogue, it just, and I'm not somebody who like I don't mind like cuss words, and you know I don't care about that shit. But when it comes to like just like straight up raunchiness and I don't know, just that, yeah, I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah, no, I thought it was terrible, man. And then like the director still has a lot of decisions that he makes with the movie. You know, really he's the captain steering the ship and he steers it right off a cliff, in my opinion. I actually find the second movie more redeemable than this movie, maybe just because I get more entertainment value out of watching it for the wrong reasons. But I'm giving writing and directing a 3 out of 10. Chat, give us your writing and directing score now. Mike, what are you giving it out of 10, man?
Yeah, I like just thinking about it now. I was way too nice, and I know the graphic is already done. So I'm gonna go with a 5 for writing and directing. Easily could have been a 4, even a 3 with Shawn. But I'm gonna go 5 for writing and directing.
Let's see what the chat is saying about writing and directing. We got a 7 out of 10 for Spooky, a 0 out of 10 from Justin, 2 out of 10 from Ken. Sam Hain's given writing 2, directing 4. Melissa's giving it a 0. Mark is giving it a 7. He's giving it a 4.5. Justin's giving it a 2 for writing, 6 for directing. Steve's giving it a 4 out of 10. Pumpkin Man's giving it 6 out of 10 for writing, 7.5 out of 10 for directing. Entertainment Wizard's giving it a 5.5. Steven's giving it a 4.5. Dean's back. I thought we scared him away because he realized we actually were doing Rob Zombie's Halloween movie. He's like, fuck these guys. He's giving it a 2 out of 10. So Dean's even harsher than I am, or more harsh than I am, pardon me. But yeah, Mike gave it a 5. I gave it a 3. And the lowest one in the chat was a 0. So lets you know a little bit where writing and directing stands. Let's move on to our final score category for this episode anyway. Sound and score. All right, man. So I think the sound design in this movie is actually really, really good.
I agree.
I enjoy the sound design in this movie. It at times can be a scary movie. Maybe not because of suspense, because I don't think that's there. But like you're well aware of everything that's happening in front of the camera and even in the background. The sound design in the movie, I have no complaints about whatsoever. I don't think it's exceptional by any means. I just think it's good. My problem comes in with the score, where I can honestly say, dude, I find absolutely nothing memorable about the score.
I just think this goes back to, in my opinion, the cinematography in my eyes. I just feel like the score is just there. Like, I don't hate it. I don't love it. Nothing memorable about it. Like, I just feel like it's literally just there. It's like, okay, we're gonna take the Halloween theme and we'll put it right here. And the other score was gonna come up with some stuff and put it right here. Stuff that doesn't suck, stuff that's just not memorable or great. I would say okay. I think okay when it comes to the score is what I would put it as. But I'm with you. I actually really enjoyed the sound design in this movie. I watched this movie the other night, obviously, and I watched it on the surround sound, and just the sound design is a lot better than I remembered it being. So that's kind of what really brings the score up on the higher side for me. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the sound design is a lot better than the score.
Yeah, it'd be hard for me to break it up into categories because I don't really view it like that. I view them as the same category, so it ends up
Yeah,
being a mixed bag for me. But again, like for one of the reasons why I like Halloween more than Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or Scream is the Halloween movies have a score that is unrivaled by any of those movies, in my opinion. It really,
yeah,
to steal Dave McRae's words here, gives you mood and atmosphere in the movies that some of those other slashers just don't give you. And to just completely disregard it for the most part is unfortunate. And then in the second movie, they double down on it because the Halloween theme is to the end credits. So
yeah.
um, I hate the score. I'm not saying it's Halloween 5 bad with the clown music, but
You don't
again,
like that?
hey, there's nothing overly memorable about it. And maybe it sounds like I'm being harsh.
I don't think so.
For me, it doesn't hit, man. So I'm giving the sound and score a 6. Sound design would be way up there, and the score would be way down there. At the end of the day, you end up with a 6. What's everybody in the chat give sound and score out of 10? Mike, how about you?
7, man. A lot of that has to do with the sound design, so we definitely agree on that. So I'm gonna go 7, and you're going 6.
Yes, sir. Melissa gives it a 4. Sam Hain says 5. Heath has given it a 7. Pumpkin Man 6.5. Justin 4 to 10. What's going on, Terry? How you doing, bro? 5 out of 10. Sound is a 7. Score is a 5 from Justin. Low body fat says both movies are giant piles of shit. The second isn't even watchable. I tried a few days. It's an assault on your eyes. I actually
Man,
find the second one as a guilty pleasure. I can literally view it as it's so bad. I view it as a comedy.
okay, I have a statement to say before we move on to these final two ones. I have grown to like this movie a lot more than I did when it first came out. I'm not saying that I love it. I'm not even saying that I like it. But I think it's fallen in that guilty pleasure watch for me. And Shawn, I know we just did the Take One podcast with our Halloween rankings. And I had Halloween Ends in front of Rob Zombie's Halloween. But I can sit here and tell you today that is no longer the case. I moved Rob Zombie's Halloween in front of Halloween Ends. I know that's shocking, but I mean, Yeah, and I talked about it on the Take One podcast. Like, it was very close for me, and then I rewatched Rob Zombie's Halloween, get ready for this episode, and I don't know, man. There's just that second half of the movie is just still really good to me. I enjoyed Michael in the second half of this film, and what I've grown to realize is I really enjoy Michael Myers. I mean, that's just me, man.
Yeah, I'd have to revisit both to really know where they stand. I They're both towards the bottom of the list for me. So
Is
um,
is it close for you? Closer than you
I
had
think it's
imagined?
always close between those two. But again, it's like, to me, when we do the Overlook Drive-In, we're not being like, "Hey, so these are our absolute favorite
Yep.
parts of the movie. I'm going to give this movie a really good rating because it's my favorite."
Yep.
I don't think favorite and bests always line up. I think you
No,
can
I agree. And we've talked about this, right? And I just said that I moved Rob Zombie's Halloween in front of Halloween Ends, but I think if we did Halloween Ends for the Overlook, my scores would be better.
agreed. I again, because you wouldn't be ranking it as a Halloween movie. You're ranking it in terms of the filmmaking process. So,
Yeah.
um, in the final product that's on screen. Steven's giving it a 6. Steve gives it a 7.5. Entertainment Wizard gives it a 7. Linton gives it a 7. 6.5 from our guy Dean. So yeah. Again, Mike gave it a 7 and I gave it a 6. Let's keep the ball rolling here, though. We'll get the final scores in just a moment. But before we do, it's time for the best kill. All right, man. What's your best kill? Let's hear it. And same with the chat. Put your best kill in the chat. We'll pull it up.
I can't believe I'm going to say this because it's a part of the film that I don't enjoy when it comes to this movie. But it's a very uncomfortable kill, but I think it's a really brutal kill. And it's going to be where young Michael kills the bully in the woods. I mean, it's not like he obviously doesn't have he kills the guy with the fucking stick. He beats the shit out of him till he bleeds. And I know we talked about the cinematography in this movie not being all that great, but I forgot all about the scene after he's done beating him and the bully is kind of begging for his life. When they do the pan shot and you see his face just all bloodied out, and Michael just goes back in on him and then you see him kind of die. You see his body kind of squirm out as he dies. It's just a really chilling scene for me. So for me, I'm going with that because that was the kill that gave me really the most chills in this movie. Like getting fucking beat to death with a fucking stick in the woods. Can you imagine? Oh man, what a way to go out.
Mine is, and I don't know if it's in both versions of the film. I don't even know what one I just watched. But it's the one where Laurie's dad gets up and Michael just comes up the staircase and takes his friggin' head off. It's just this moment where it's like, oh, like there was no hesitation or anything, and like the guy was so ignorant to it that he had no idea what was coming. Like he stood there as if it was a 7-foot trick or treater coming up to his doorstep, and it didn't end well for him. So that's it for me. In the chat, we have Joe Grizzly, we have the stepdad,
Joe
Terry.
Grizzly, bitch.
We got a lot of Joe Grizzly and the stepdad. The stepdad one was good too. That guy fucking deserved what he got. Piece of shit.
I like that. The kill that you brought up, Shawn, Laurie's dad. That was really good. I mean, I thought that was a really good scene too overall when he's kind of standing on the step and he's just like standing there and he looks to the left and Michael just boom, he's right there. That's a really good jump scare right there. And then like they cut to inside the house and he just kind of drops the dad and then just is fucking staring at I was shitting my pants seeing that grown ass man. Like, oh man, what a scene. That's a good scene. I'm glad you brought that up.
Melissa says, sorry, pardon me. Heath says Nurse Gloria. Best thing was the song Don't Fear the Reaper. Yeah, so good variety there. The question is, though, out of this Oscar-worthy Halloween movie, who is your Overlook MVP? Who's taking home the ship, Mike?
I'm gonna actually let you go first this time.
Oh, okay. Well,
You deserve it.
mine's Brad Dourif.
Good choice.
Brad Dourif just does something specifically more with the second movie, but even in this movie, I wasn't sure what to expect out of the Chucky actor, playing Sheriff Brackett. Honestly, it felt like for me personally, anyways, a publicity stunt at first. And boy, was I ever wrong, because he's some of the best parts of these two movies, and he's believable from the very beginning. I appreciate the on-screen chemistry him and Danielle Harris have. Honestly, I buy into their version of the relationship more than I do in the original 78, just because we don't see much of it in the 78. In this one, we get it in two movies. So you feel more about their relationship and their bond. So Brad Dourif and Sheriff Brackett is my Overlook MVP for this episode.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to agree with you, and I can't really disagree with you on that. I think he's phenomenal. I just think he's a little better in Halloween 2. But he was great in this movie, but for me, for the first one, I got to go Danielle Harris. I thought that she was great in both of these films. Again, maybe even a little better in the second one. Like, I felt like the acting was really stepped up in the second movie as well from all of these characters. But I'll go Danielle Harris for this one. I just like everything that she brought to the table. I thought she did really good in this film. But Brad Dourif is a real good one too. Like, I can't ignore that.
Wayne says the Danny Trejo death was uncomfortable. I was good to you, Mikey. I was good to you. Not
He
good,
was though.
apparently.
He was. He told the people. He said, "Don't touch their mask. Don't touch his mask." He was trying to be nice. But yeah, man, I'm going Danielle Harris. I thought she was really good in this movie.
I liked her. I'm sure the people that did Halloween 6 are probably sitting there going, yeah, maybe we fucked up by screwing her over. So,
I mean, think about it. 4, 5, and Rob Zombie's both films. Thought she did really good in all of them.
Dean says Brad Dourif. Justin says Dourif. Ken says Dourif. Steve says Dourif. Entertainment Wizard says Dourif. Indy says MVP's Rob Zombie. He brought his energy and passion to it. Well, as we said off the top earlier, man, sorry that it definitely is probably us shitting all over your favorite film. That's not the intent here. If you enjoy this film, that's great. In fact, a close friend of mine swears up and down, Mike, that the Rob Zombie Halloween films are better than the rest of the Halloween films, because he's just into the Rob Zombie style of filmmaking, House of the Thousand Corpses. I'm sure he doesn't have the monsters on that list, but
yeah, no, I mean, it's seen across. It's seen. I mean, it has its fans. I mean, on the Take One podcast, my buddy Kevin is a huge fan of these films. Halloween 2, I think, is number 1 for him. Number 2, I can't remember when we did the ranking. So everybody has their movies that they love, and again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier when we were talking about Halloween Ends. Let people love what they love and let people hate what they hate. It's the easiest way to do. That's the great thing about movies. It's going to touch people and hit people on an emotional level differently.
You keep the touching over there, but emotionally we'll stick with. No, I totally agree with that. Again, if these movies work for you, that's what counts. I probably go back and revisit Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 more than I do his first movie. Again, not because I think it's his masterpiece. I just think there are very entertaining qualities about the second movie that are rewatchable, probably for the wrong reasons. But again, if these are your favorites, that's all that matters. Who cares what anybody else thinks? At the end of the day, you're the one that's going to enjoy the movie on some level or another. Terry said Brad. Justin said Brad. Drum Dums, if that's him and not a poser. We know people pose as him. Says Dourif. Dag as young Michael was very good in this film. I appreciated what he brought to it. Again, I don't agree with the direction that they took there. I don't think we needed to see all that backstory. He took the mystique out of it, but you can't take away from the kid's performance.
No, I thought he was phenomenal in this movie, and it sucks that they couldn't get him back in the second movie. I thought that really showed.
Justin says Dorff is a very underrated actor. Sam Hain cheats the system and says Danielle Harris and Brad Dorff. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Dean Renner, don't you try that Halloween shit with me. Wrong movie, Dean. Anyways, dude, it's score time. It's time for our final score. So if you've been following along with us this evening as we go through Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007, compile your scores up, and I'll teach math class for a second here. You should have a score out of 50. So take whatever the number is you have, divide it by 50, and times it by 100, and that's how you get your percentage. And here's how it turned out for Mike and I. I had story and pacing at a 4. Mike had it at a 5. I had acting at 8. Mike had it at 7.5. I had cinematography at 6. Mike had it at 7. Writing and directing I had at 3. Mike had it at 5. Sound and score I had at 6. Mike had at 7, which resulted in 54% from me and 63% from Mike, which then broke down to story and pacing overall 45%, acting 77.5%, cinematography was a 65%, writing and directing was 40%, sound and score is 65%, giving us a grand total and I believe a new low for us on the Overlook Drive-In.
By far.
Because I believe I Know What You Did Last Summer did better than this.
It was in the 70s, low 70s, I believe.
I believe so, and we'll have that updated graphic for you guys next week. But Rob Zombie's Halloween scored it at 58.5%. Mike, was this close to about where you thought it would be? And be honest, where did you think this was going to end up?
I thought it was going to be in the 50s. I really did. I kind of figured on the lower end of the 50s would have been my guess, which is really, really low when you break down the scores. But again, it's not a very well done movie. Again, it's a guilty pleasure watch for me, like H2 is for you. I enjoy watching this movie. There's no doubt about it. But when you break down the scores and you really dive into these categories, you got to be true and you got to be honest and you got to go against what you like. And the score, spoke for itself. And I think 58.5 is. I think it's an honorable score. It's our lowest by far. Close to 15. It's between 15 and 20 basis points, I believe. So, really, really low against the movies that we've done so far. But I knew going into tonight that it was going to be the lowest of the movies that we've done for sure. What about you?
Yeah. Although I'll say this, I'm curious to see how it will stand against the likes of Halloween 5, which you can get on our Patreon in the next week or two. Go sign up over there. We have a couple of Overlook Drive-In tiers. We'll still let you know what the score ended up being, but to get into the specifics of each category, you'll have to tune into the episode that'll be available over on Patreon. 58, I think, was respectable. I am curious to see, though, where it ranks against Halloween 5 and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I think those movies are kind of a mixed bag, and I have no idea which one comes out on top or which one comes out on the bottom of that stuff. I do want to get to the comment section and see what other people ended up with. Entertainment Wizard says he ended up with 66%. Pumpkin Man's giving it 70. Heath is giving it a 63. Steve gives it a 60. Indie Phantom's giving it an 84%. This fella says, what was the Halloween Ends mess? I think the Halloween Ends mess was quite obvious and is quite literally everywhere now. Ken 50%, Steven 57%. Yeah, so I mean, dude, it ended up basically right around where I thought there was a chance it might hit 60, to be honest. I didn't know if we'd be that much lower than where we are now.
Man, I don't know, but I think 5 for me is probably going to do really, really bad.
You guys are very nice to these movies. I thought we were being honest. At least that's how I feel anyway. I could have given Halloween 4 when we did it a bunch of 10s because it's my favorite Halloween movie. I definitely did not do that. And again, hey, if the acting doesn't hold up where it does in this movie, our score, like it's very possible our scorecard dips below 50%.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure acting was my highest.
Alyssa gave it a 47. 47.
Yikes.
Anyways, though, ladies and gentlemen, that is another episode of the Overlook Drive-In in the books. Tune in to our social media over the next couple of days to find out what movie's next. We will be doing a couple more Halloween movies as we go here. Justin gives it a 16%.
That's what I was laughing at.
I mean, I know it's bad, dude, but
That's that's terrible.
it's right up there with Velocipaster. Anyways,
Titanic too.
Oh boy, I still haven't seen that yet.
You're good.
I'm good.
Although you know what, I might pick it for the Overlook one day.
That would be a funny Overlook.
I'm not gonna do that to you.
Just checking something. We have an Overlook Drive-In a few days after April Fools. That might be a good like Patreon to do. Oh boy, it'd be abysmal. Anyways, though, stay tuned to our social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Fandom Empire Now, to see what the next episode is going to be. We're doing Halloween for the next couple of weeks, and then we are gonna sort of get off Halloween for a bit. We won't be doing Halloween 2018. Halloween Kills or Halloween Ends anytime soon. That'll be next year at some point. So be on the lookout for that. Maybe around the time of the physical release of the trilogy there. We'll get to them, but we have a bunch of other horror movies to get to and just other, significant movies. They're not all horror, but most of them are. Mike, where can everybody find you at, man? What do you got going on, sir?
You could follow me on Twitter at @MichaelBish_. Take One Podcast. No episode this week, but big month for November. You could go check out our latest episode, though, episode 26, as we review Halloween Ends. Shawn, along with many other talented folks, join me on that episode. It's a really great listen. Long episode, but it's definitely worth it. Had a lot of fun on there, and it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major platforms.
No, definitely, for sure. By the way, I'm seeing some comments in the chats, probably by trolls, but I don't give a shit, about Haddonfield the Vanished. We made some reference to that earlier on in the show, so go watch the rest of the episode. And those that did back it on Indiegogo, again, I'm reiterating this, with the exception of maybe 4 or 5 people that I haven't reached out to and 2 that I just flat out won't. Everybody is well aware of what's happening with that production. We appreciate the ongoing support. Good to know that the pitchforks aren't, in fact, at the door. Check out Take One. That was a fun episode to be a part of. 6 very different takes and points given all throughout that episode. It was a lot of fun. If you like Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, our most recent episode's up on the channel right now as we do a full spoiler breakdown of the season 1 finale of House of the Dragon. Check it out. Greatly appreciated. You can also support the channel on Patreon, patreon.com/Fandom Empire, and where you can find the Lampkin Lane show over there. And we also have Making the Shape, which you'll see probably every couple of weeks here on the channel, where we dive into the making of the Halloween movies or the Halloween movies that were almost made and why they didn't come to be. For Mike, I'm Shawn. For Dean in the chat and everybody else, including the sponsors that support the programming here, have a great fucking week. We'll see you next week. And don't forget, fuck them kids.